It was late afternoon, and the sun lit up Fairview Park with warm golden rays. The place was full of energy, kids laughing and running around the swings, joggers moving smoothly down the paths, and couples sitting quietly on benches, talking and enjoying each other's company. Jamir, a 16-year-old high school junior, walked along the gravel path with his backpack hanging off one shoulder. He wasn't at the park to hang out or relax. He was just passing through, taking a shortcut on his way to grab some groceries for his mom. As he got about halfway through the park, something unusual caught his eye. On an old wooden bench near the playground sat a small tan leather purse. It looked like someone had left it behind. Jamir stopped. Part of him wanted to ignore it and keep walking. It wasn't his problem. But another part of him, maybe his curiosity or just knowing what was right, made him stop and look around. There was no one nearby who seemed to be missing anything. Through a moment of hesitation, Jamir slowly walked up to the bench and picked up the purse. It was light but felt sturdy in his hands, with a few scratches on the corners showing it had been used for a while. His heart beat a little faster as he unzipped the main pocket. Inside, he found a wallet, a set of keys, and a folded receipt. A driver's license was sticking out from the wallet. The photo showed a middle-aged woman with soft blonde hair and gentle eyes. Her name was Linda Carson. Her address was listed right there on the ID. Jamir looked around once more. No one seemed to be searching for anything. No one noticed the purse. He let out a sigh. This wasn't how he expected his day to go, but he couldn't just leave it there and forget about it. He placed the purse in his backpack and made up his mind. He was going to return it to Linda Carson. The walk home felt heavier than usual, even though the purse didn't weigh much. It was like it carried more than just stuff. It carried a decision. Later that evening, Jamir sat at the small kitchen table in his family's home. Purse lay in front of him. His younger sister, Tasha, stared at it with wide, curious eyes, barely able to hold back her excitement. "Did you find that? Is it full of money?" she asked, leaning in closer. Jamir shook his head and took out the wallet to show her. "No, it belongs to someone. Linda Carson. Look, her ID's right here." Tasha scrunched up her nose. "So, what are you gonna do with it?" "Return it," he said without hesitation, though it didn't feel quite that simple anymore. The words came out solid, but deep down, he felt the weight of what that meant. Their mom, just finishing up after her shift and drying her hands with a dish towel, looked over and gave him a thoughtful nod. "You're doing the right thing, Jamir," she said. "But be careful, okay? Not everybody's comfortable with strangers showing up at their door." Jamir nodded. He knew exactly what she meant, even though she didn't say it out loud. Still, something inside him just wouldn't let it go. He had to try and make sure Linda Carson got her purse back. She must have been really worried about losing her purse, especially with her ID and keys still inside. The next morning, after double-checking the address on the license, Jamir got on his bike. He pedaled through the neighborhood, the crisp autumn air brushing against his face. As he got closer to his destination, his nerves started to creep in. What if she didn't believe him? What if she thought he had taken it? The doubts made him slow down for a second, but he reminded himself why he was doing this and kept going. He had made up his mind. When Jamir reached Linda Carson's house, a simple brick home with a porch swing moving gently in the wind, he stopped, took a deep breath, and walked up to the door, holding the purse in his hand. He rang the doorbell and waited. A few seconds later, he heard quick footsteps coming from inside. The door opened, and there she was, Linda Carson. At first, her face looked cautious, maybe even suspicious. But then her expression changed. Relief washed over her face, followed by a deep, heartfelt gratitude. "Oh my goodness," she said, her voice shaking a little. "You have no idea how stressed I've been." Jamir reached out and handed her the purse. "I found it yesterday at the park. I thought you'd want it back." Linda took the purse with both hands, her fingers trembling slightly. She unzipped it and looked through everything carefully. Then her eyes met Jamir's, a little teary. "Everything's here. You didn't take anything?" Jamir shook his head. "No, ma'am. I just wanted to return it to you." For a moment, Linda just looked at him, not saying anything. Then she smiled. A real, warm smile that made Jamir feel proud and calm at the same time. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Thank you so much." She stepped back and held the door open. "Please come in. Let me at least get you something to drink. You didn't have to do all this, and I'd like to thank you properly." Jamir glanced at his bike, still parked by the sidewalk. "I'm okay, really. I just wanted to make sure you got it back." But Linda wouldn't hear it. "I won't take no for an answer. Just for a few minutes." Jamir gave in and stepped inside, feeling a bit unsure. The house was warm and inviting, filled with the smell of fresh coffee and a soft scent of lavender in the air. Linda motioned toward the small kitchen table. "Have a seat," she said gently. Jamir sat down, feeling a little awkward, not sure what to do with his hands. A few moments later, Linda returned with a glass of lemonade and a small plate of cookies. "Here you go," she said, setting them down in front of him. "It's the least I can do." Jamir took a sip of the lemonade, grateful but still quiet. Linda sat across from him, her eyes returning to the purse, as if she still couldn't believe it had come back to her. "I really thought it was gone forever," she said softly. "Everything that matters to me is in there, my ID, my cards, even a photo of my husband." She paused, her hand resting gently on the purse. Her voice lowered a bit as she looked at the picture. "He passed away a few years ago. I keep his picture with me everywhere I go," Linda said, her voice soft. "When I realized my purse was gone." Her words faded, and she pressed her lips together, trying to keep them from trembling. Jamir shifted in his chair. He felt uneasy but also deeply sympathetic. "I'm really sorry about your husband," he said quietly. Linda gave him a gentle smile as she wiped away a tear from the corner of her eye. "You've done more than you realize, Jamir," she said. "I want to give you something for the trouble." She reached into the purse and pulled out a crisp $20 bill. Jamir quickly raised his hands. "No, ma'am. I can't take that. I didn't do it for money." "But you deserve it," she replied, holding it out to him. Jamir shook his head again, firmly this time. "My mom always says to do the right thing no matter what. I just wanted to help." Linda looked at him for a long moment. Her face softened and a quiet respect settled in her expression. "Well," she said, slowly slipping the bill back into her purse, "then maybe there's another way I can help you." Jamir looked puzzled. "What do you mean?" Linda didn't respond right away. She leaned back in her chair, thinking, her eyes still on him. She tilted her head slightly as if studying him. "Tell me, Jamir, do you live nearby?" "Yes, ma'am," he answered. "Just a few blocks away." She nodded, gently tapping her fingers on the edge of the table. "And what about school?" "What grade are you in?" "I'm a junior at Riverdale High," he said. "It's all right, I guess. I've been thinking about college, but it's hard." Linda raised her eyebrows with interest. "College? That's great. What would you like to study?" Jamir paused. He traced the rim of the glass in front of him with his finger before answering. "Engineering. I like building things, figuring out how they work. But my mom's already working 2 jobs, and college, it costs a lot." The room went quiet for a moment. Linda's face softened and a faint smile formed at the corners of her lips. "You remind me of my son," she said gently. "Your son?" Jamir asked. She nodded, her gaze drifting toward a framed photo on the mantel in the living room. Jamir followed her eyes and saw a picture of a young man wearing a cap and gown. "His name was Kyle," she said. "He died in a car accident 5 years ago. He was smart, just like you. Always had big dreams. He wanted to be an architect." Jamir shifted in his seat again, unsure of what to say. "I'm sorry," he murmured. He finally spoke, his voice quiet and soft. "I'm sorry," he said. Linda gave him a warm smile, even though her eyes were shiny with tears that hadn't yet fallen. "Thank you," she said gently. "You know, when you lose someone like that, it changes how you see everything. I try to keep Kyle's memory alive by helping others whenever I can. And you, Jamir, you've reminded me that there's still a lot of goodness in this world." Jamir felt his face grow warm. He wasn't used to that kind of attention, and the compliment made him a little uncomfortable. "I just did what anyone should do," he mumbled. "No," Linda said, her tone firm but kind. "Not everyone would have done what you did. It's rare to see someone choose kindness just because it's the right thing. That's why I want to help you." She paused, then continued, I know people in the community, folks who really care about education. Some of them might be able to help bring your dream of going to college a little closer. Jamir looked at her, surprised. You don't have to do that. I mean, you don't even know me. Linda smiled again. I know enough. And this isn't about what I have to do. It's about what I want to do. For the first time, Jamir let himself think that maybe, just maybe, college wasn't just a far-off dream. Maybe it could really happen. The next morning, Linda got right to work. She started making calls, reaching out to old friends, past co-workers, and people she knew from the local community group she'd long been involved with in Dayton. But this time, it wasn't just a good deed. It was personal. She had a mission. To help Jamir take real steps toward his future, her first call was to Mr. Reynolds, the director of a local nonprofit that gave scholarships to students from low-income families. As soon as Linda shared Jamir's story, Mr. Reynolds was interested. A young man with that kind of character? He deserves a real shot, he said. Tell him to stop by our office next week. Let's see what we can do. Next, Linda reached out to her neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, a retired teacher who now ran a small tutoring program from her home. If he's thinking about studying engineering, Mrs. Henderson said, he's going to need strong math and science skills. I'd be happy to help him with that. By the time the day was over, Linda had already lined up several chances for Jamir: scholarship leads, free tutoring, and even the possibility of a summer internship with a local architect. She couldn't remember the last time she felt this driven and hopeful. Felt like something real was happening, something meaningful. Meanwhile, Jamir had no clue what was going on behind the scenes. All of this was being set in motion for him, and he was about to find out just how far a simple good deed could go. Jamir spent his weekend helping his mom tidy up the house and playing video games with Tasha. He tried not to think too much about Linda's promise. A part of him didn't want to get too hopeful, just in case nothing came of it. Then on Monday evening, Linda called. Her voice was full of energy. Jamir, can you come by my house tomorrow? I have a few people I'd like you to meet. Jamir was curious and a little nervous, but he agreed. The next afternoon, he found himself sitting in Linda's cozy living room, surrounded by people he'd never met before. But they all seemed genuinely interested in helping him. Jamir, this is Mr. Reynolds, Linda said, nodding to the man sitting beside her. He runs a scholarship program and wants to help you with your college plans. Mr. Reynolds reached out to shake Jamir's hand. His smile was warm and reassuring. It's great to meet you, Jamir. From what Linda has told me, you have a lot of potential. We just want to make sure you've got the support to reach your goals. Jamir blinked, surprised. He shook Mr. Reynolds' hand, feeling thankful and still trying to believe it was real. Thank you, sir, he said softly. Linda turned to introduce the next guest, a cheerful woman who smiled brightly at Jamir. And this is Mrs. Henderson, she said. She's a retired teacher who's a whiz at math and science. Mrs. Henderson leaned forward with a friendly nod. Linda tells me you're thinking about engineering. If you're open to it, I'd be happy to help you strengthen your math and science skills so you'll be ready for college-level classes. Jamir looked from Linda to Mrs. Henderson, trying to take it all in. This is amazing, he said. I don't even know what to say. Say yes, Linda replied with a grin. In the weeks that followed, Jamir's life began to shift in ways he never imagined. Every afternoon after school, he sat at Mrs. Henderson's dining table, going over math problems and learning the basics of engineering, things he once thought were out of his reach. She had a special way of breaking things down so they made sense, and with each lesson, Jamir's confidence grew. At the same time, Linda took him to meet with Mr. Reynolds. Together, they worked on scholarship applications, putting together essays that showed who Jamir was, his commitment, his values, and his dream of becoming an engineer. For the first time in his life, Jamir felt like the future wasn't something far off or impossible. Felt close, like something he could actually work toward. One evening, Linda invited Jamir and his mom over for dinner. They sat together around her kitchen table. Linda sat at the table, smiling as she shared how much progress Jamir had made. Your son is truly something special, she told Jamir's mom. He's bright, kind, and so focused. I know he's going to do amazing things. Jamir's mom, clearly touched by the words, dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. I've always believed in him, she said quietly. But it's tough, raising kids on your own, working long hours. You try your best, but sometimes it feels like you're just not giving them everything they need." Linda gently reached over and gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. "You've done a wonderful job," she said. "Jamir is who he is because of how you raised him. I'm just giving him a little support along the way." As the weeks turned into months, Jamir stayed focused and kept working hard. Then, one afternoon, a letter arrived in the mail. It was from one of the scholarship programs that Mr. Reynolds had helped him apply to. Jamir's hands shook as he tore open the envelope. He read the first line once, then again. "We are pleased to inform you." His heart skipped a beat. He read it a third time just to be sure. He had been awarded a full scholarship to study engineering at Ohio State University. He bolted down the hall, waving the letter in the air. "Mom! Mom! I got it," he shouted. His mom threw her arms around him, hugging him tight. Her laughter mixed with tears, the kind of tears only a proud parent knows. That evening, Jamir walked straight over to Linda's house. When she opened the door, he held the letter up with both hands, his eyes shining. "I couldn't have done this without you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Linda pulled him into a hug, her eyes misty. "No, Jamir. You made this happen," she said. "I just helped open the door. But you're the one who stepped through it." Jamir's story didn't stop with the scholarship. Quickly spread through the community, becoming something much bigger. Linda shared what had happened with friends and neighbors, not to brag, but to show how one honest action could change everything. At a local town hall meeting, she stood up and told the story of how Jamir had found and returned her purse, and how that one choice had set off a chain reaction that changed his life. "This isn't just about what Jamir did for me," Linda told the crowd. "It's about what we can do for each other. When we choose kindness instead of doubt, and when we act instead of turning away, this is the kind of result we can see." Her words struck a chord. People in the audience nodded, moved by the message. Some reached out to Linda and Jamir afterward. Donations started coming in for the scholarship fund. Retired professionals volunteered to help tutor students. Even local businesses stepped up to lend support. New opportunities began to open up across the community. Internships and part-time jobs were created for teens like Jamir who were working hard to build a better future. Jamir stayed humble through it all. Even as more people began to recognize him, he never let it go to his head. He started speaking at community events, telling others about his journey and encouraging young people to keep believing in themselves. "It's not about where you begin," he often said, standing with quiet confidence before a crowd. "It's about what you're willing to do to reach your goals, and the people who believe in you along the way." Linda found new purpose in all of this too. Helping Jamir had filled a space in her heart that she hadn't even known was empty. By giving him her support, she found healing in her own life. She realized that by lifting someone else up, she had brought light back into her own world. One warm spring afternoon, just before Jamir left for his first semester at Ohio State University, he stopped by Linda's house for one last visit. She welcomed him with a big hug and handed him a small care package. Inside were snacks, notebooks, and a framed photo of the two of them standing together on her porch, the day he received his scholarship letter. "Thank you, Miss Carson," Jamir said quietly, his voice full of emotion. "For everything." But Linda shook her head gently. "No, Jamir," she replied, her tone steady and warm. "Thank you. You reminded me that there's still so much good in this world, and that we all have the power to make it brighter." As Jamir walked down the street toward his future, Linda stood at the door watching him go, her heart full. She knew she had played a small but meaningful role in something much bigger. And as he disappeared into the distance, she smiled, not just because of what had already happened, but because of all the good things still to come. Jamir's journey is proof that honesty and kindness matter. What started with a simple decision to return a lost purse didn't just change his own path. It lit a spark that spread across the whole neighborhood. It's a powerful reminder. The smallest choices can have the biggest effects. And when we choose to help one another, we all move forward, together.